$5. That's it, 5 single-dollar bills. That was the entire net worth of a young woman named Anya on the day she stepped onto the soil of a new continent, a new world. Think about that for a moment. $5 to start an entire life. No family, no connections, no backup plan. Just the clothes on her back and a heart full of desperate hope. Everyone loves a good comeback story, right? But this isn't just about a comeback. This is a story about what happens when everything you have is nothing, and how that very nothingness can become the strongest foundation you could ever build on. What happened next didn't just amaze the people around her. It changed the very definition of what she believed was possible. Stay with me, because this story is for anyone who has ever felt like they had nothing left to lose. Anya's journey began thousands of miles away, in a small town where opportunities were disappearing faster than a winter shadow. She watched her parents work themselves to exhaustion, their dreams slowly fading year after year, and she made a promise to herself, I will find a way to make life bigger. Leaving wasn't easy. The goodbyes were tearful. But the dream of America, the land of opportunity, pulled her forward like a magnet. When she finally arrived, that $5 in her pocket wasn't just money. It was a lifeline, a symbol of her commitment. Terrifying, but beautiful. But dreams collide with reality very quickly. The city was huge, loud, indifferent. Every face was a stranger. Every street corner looked like a question mark. The English she had learned in school wasn't the English people used on the street. The job listings she saw in magazines weren't lining up to welcome her. She didn't even have enough money for a proper bed. For the first few weeks, a corner in a cheap shared hostel room was all she had. And that $5, it bought her one day of food. And then it vanished. Now this is the moment where most people break. Where most people call home, admit defeat, and ask for a ticket back. But Anya had burned the boats. There was no going back to the life she had left behind. Her first job was washing dishes in a tiny, chaotic restaurant. She worked the night shift, 10 hours straight, standing in heat and steam, her hands raw from hot water and soap. The pay barely covered her tiny corner of a room and one simple meal a day. She wasn't just washing dishes. She was washing away her past, her comfort, maybe even her identity. Every night, she would open the notebook where she had taped that $5 bill. It had no value now, just a thin piece of paper. But it reminded her of the exact moment she began. Her 0 point. And here's the truth, friend. Her greatest fight wasn't the work. It wasn't the aching feet or the long hours. Her greatest struggle was loneliness. She was surrounded by people and yet completely alone. She didn't share their stories, their language, or their familiarity. Imagine finishing a brutal 10-hour shift, walking home through dark, cold streets, knowing that not one single soul on this entire continent would notice if you disappeared. Have you ever felt that kind of crushing loneliness? The kind that makes your chest ache? Anya cried sometimes. She'd sit on the floor of her tiny room and let the tears fall. Not from self-pity, but from pure exhaustion. But then she would stand up. She'd look at that $5 bill, and she'd remember her promise. Every day she had a choice. Let loneliness swallow her, or use solitude to sharpen her focus. She chose to focus. Anya realized something powerful. That $5 wasn't seed money, it was a metaphor. Proof that she could survive with nothing. Now she had a few $100s. Still small by American standards. But to her, it was a treasure. And she didn't spend it on luxuries. She invested it. Not in stocks or fancy courses, but in knowledge and kindness. At the restaurant, she noticed something. The owner, an older gentleman, struggled with the new digital ordering system. Orders were jumbled. Customers were frustrated. Anya didn't speak perfect English, but she was sharp. She understood systems. She started staying an extra hour every night, unpaid, organizing paper tickets, color-coding sections, reducing chaos. The owner noticed. One night he stopped her. He didn't offer her a raise. He offered her something far more valuable, a chance. Anya, he said, you're good at organizing. My son runs a small delivery business, but the logistics are a mess. Can you help him? It's commission-based. Anya had never touched logistics. But when she saw that messy garage filled with scattered boxes, she saw a reflection of her own life when she arrived. Chaos waiting for structure. For the next 6 months, she lived and breathed that tiny delivery company. She spent spare change on used business books. She learned English through audiobooks while cleaning. She traded hours of filing for lessons and tutoring. She skipped small pleasures like a simple coffee to save for an old, secondhand computer. She poured every drop of her heart, her mind, and her time into that work. It wasn't just a job, it was survival. It was meaning. One harsh winter night, the owner's son showed her the numbers. In just months, the company's efficiency and profit had nearly doubled. He was stunned. He looked at Anya, thin, tired, wrapped in a heavy winter coat, and made a decision. He didn't just give her a raise. He offered her a partnership. The girl who arrived with $5 now owned a piece of a growing American business. This wasn't the end of her journey, but it was the turning point. The moment the universe returned everything she had invested. Not just money, but faith, sacrifice, and resilience. Anya is now a successful businesswoman. Not a billionaire, this isn't a fairy tale. But she built a life filled with purpose, independence, and respect. She bought a small home for her parents and brought them to the new world, keeping the promise she made as a young girl. And what does she say was her secret? There was no secret. She says that when she had $5, she wasn't afraid of losing $5. She realized her greatest asset wasn't money. It was motivation. When you have nothing, you fear nothing. And that fearlessness brings clarity. A focus the comfortable never experience. The person with $5 learns the value of every dollar, every minute, every act of kindness. Her story is a universal lesson. We waste so much time waiting for the perfect moment. The capital, the connection, the degree. Anya's life proves you don't need the perfect moment. You just need to identify your 0 point. Maybe your 0 point isn't $5. Maybe it's the end of a relationship. Maybe it's losing a job. Maybe it's the moment you finally admitted you need a change. Whatever it is, embrace it. Don't see it as a loss. See it as a blank slate. Because the power of starting with nothing is that every small win feels huge. Every little step matters. And every move forward is fueled by the memory of where you began. Stop waiting for wealth to give you courage. Let your courage build your wealth. If Anya could build a new world from a single terrifying 5, what can you build today with what you already have? If this story lit a fire in you, hit that like button. Tell me in the comments, what is the 5 in your life right now that you can turn into fuel? Share this video with someone who needs to remember the power of starting from 0. And don't forget to subscribe for more true stories of inspiration and courage.